Hey everyone, Cutaplug here, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to find super deep silver coins. So there's a lot of conditions and factors that actually go into place to finding really deep coins, and it's not always possible. So when I was first starting detecting, I kind of wondered how people, how are the pros finding coins that are really deep, and why am I finding 4-inch coins or 5 or 6-inch maximum silver dimes, and I'm seeing other people dig a lot deeper ones. So after thousands of hours of hunting and thousands of old coins found, I think I've finally got it figured out, and that's what I'm going to share in this video. So first we have to define what is considered a super deep coin, and we're going to talk about measured numbers and not guesstimates, because kind of like fishing, I think us guys and gals in the metal detecting community kind of exaggerate sometimes on the depth of coins. And I actually don't think it's on purpose a lot of times. I think it's because they've never actually measured a coin. If you look in a hole that you've just dug, it will look 6 or 8 inches deep, but in all actuality, if you measure it, it's probably 5 inches. So a hole that you dig will look much deeper than it actually is. So I highly recommend getting a tape measure out and actually measuring the depth of your coins sometimes, so you'll get a better feel of it. We'll be talking about measuring from the top of the soil, not the top of the grass, just to kind of have a guideline. And for this example, we'll use a silver merc dime. And when you're talking about digging silver dimes, I think the merc is probably the most common one that you'll dig. Another thing is digging coins consistently. So there's a difference between lucking on to a super deep coin because you got a really strange signal. There's a difference between that and being able to hear a deep signal and know that it's not trash. So you know that it's more than likely a coin target. You know that it's something round at least. So that's there's a big difference between accidentally digging a deep coin and being able to consistently dig it. So these numbers I'm talking about here are numbers that you should be consistently digging. So an average detector, I think, can get a silver dime at about 4 to 6 inches depth. So if you take an average person with an average machine, that's about the average depth, I would say. Above average is probably 6 to 8 inches, and a super deep, in my opinion, is 8 to 10 inches depth, and that's measured depth from the top of the soil down to where you retrieve your target. And I've been able to consistently dig silver dimes in the 8 to 10 inch range in my soil conditions, and I'm going to talk about how you can do the same thing and what factors need to be in place for you to actually do that. Alright, the first factor is a low trash site. So the site needs to be pretty much low trash. I mean, there's not really any other way to put it. So if you have a site that's really trashy, your detector will null out most of the time, or if you don't have threshold on it, maybe you'll hear constant signals everywhere. It's just pinging all the time and driving you nuts. That's kind of evidence that you have a high trash site. If you look at the picture on the left here, this is a typical residential property that is high trash. If you see trash on top of the ground, that just screams trash under the soil. So this site is probably going to have pull tabs and toy cars and just all kinds of junk in it. And the chances of you finding a super deep coin at this site are very slim, because the targets on top of the ground will keep you from keep your detector from seeing deeper targets. On the right hand side here, I have an old house, and the yard is huge and it's a lot of open space, and you can see there's not much trash. It doesn't look trashy. So some of these can be deceiving. But for the most part, if the house looks clean and the yard looks clean, you can pretty much guess that it's a medium to low trash site, and it has potential for deep coins. Also parks, schools, fairgrounds, old fairgrounds, just any open ground that is relatively low trash, you can find super deep coins at. The next thing I want to talk about is the ground conditions. So the mineral count plays an important role in how deep your detector can see targets. If you live somewhere that is highly mineralized soil, that will significantly reduce the depth capabilities of your detector. On the other hand, if you live in an area with low mineral count in the soil, you're going to get a lot more depth out of it. So that's something to keep in mind. Pay attention to the mineral levels, and if you don't know what they are, then you can contact someone like the USGS, the Geological Survey, or maybe a college or somebody that could help you determine how high the mineral count is there. The soil type, loose black soil, is what I found to be the best for really deep coins. So a dark soil that when you get to the site and you sink your shovel into the ground, it just slides in, and it's just a really loose dark soil. That's the only way I can explain it. And on the other hand, if you have like a red clay or really rocky soil, sometimes the coins won't go as deep in that. So anybody with a detector can come along and get a 4 to 6 inch coin. Because they don't sink that deep in that soil, you don't have an advantage. If you go to a soil like that's loose and dark, the coins will sink deeper, and then the average detectorist won't get that depth. So when you go in there with a deep seeking setup, you can get a much bigger advantage, and that's how I get a lot of my deep coin live digs, is I go places where other people have gone and they just didn't know their machine as well, or didn't have the setup that I had to find those deep coins. Something else I look for is low cut grass, or what I consider to be old grass. So if you look at the picture here in the middle, you'll notice that it has a wide variety of plants in it. I can see blades of grass in there. I can see little clovers and a couple, like some flowers, and there's also some little plants that have round, larger round leaves in there. There's just a whole variety there. So when I look at that, I think that it's been there for a long time because there's a bunch of different stuff in there. And for the most part, if you see grass like this at a house, most of the time it's not been excavated, and there's usually deep coins in it if there's not low trash, or there's at least coins, old coins in it, if it's an old property. On the other hand, if you look on the right side here at this picture, I have like a sod or a newer kind of grass, and it's almost 4 inches deep. So if you think about it, if your metal detector can detect a silver dime at 7 inches and you lose 4, then you can only find a 3-inch coin there, which is not very deep at all. So the depth, the height of the grass plays a very important role on how deep the coins are that you're going to find. One more thing to pay attention to is the moisture level in the soil. Some detectors do much better when the soil is wet. They actually go way deeper, and you can find much deeper coins when the soil is wet. On the other hand, there are some detectors that will false a lot more and go crazy in wet soil conditions. So for those, it might be better to have just a slightly moist soil and not a super saturated soil. So you kind of have to know your detector, and then just pay attention to when you're at a site. Look at the soil conditions and pay attention to how your detector is reacting to those conditions versus different conditions that you've detected in. The next thing I want to talk to you about is your detector and settings and how you use it, basically your setup. So it's really important that you have a high-end model detector that is known to find deep coins. So you can't really just go out on the market, go to Walmart or Radio Shack or somewhere and buy a metal detector and expect to find deep coins with it. You have to have a good machine, and you have to have one that's made by a good brand name, Garrett, Minelab, White, Fisher, Tesoro. There's a lot of good brand names out there. There's a list on my website, but make sure you get a high quality detector and that it's actually known to find deep coins. So look at YouTube and see if people are digging deep coins with it. A few examples: Minelab e-trac, CTX 3030, White V3i, Bliss Tool, Fisher F75, and there's a bunch more. These are all high-level machines. You know, for the most part, the more money you spend, the better they are. There are some inexpensive models that go deep. Tesoro is the first thing that comes to mind. A lot of the Vaquero, one that starts with a C, I can't think of the name of it, but Tesoro, they have really good machines for the price. So if you're looking for a lower budget machine and looking for deep coins and low trash, that's definitely something to consider. Use a larger search coil than the stock one. So most people use a stock coil. If you want an advantage and you want to get deeper coins, use something larger. And I recommend something between 12 and 15 inches as the coil size. If you get higher than 15, 17 inches, then you're going to lose sensitivity on small targets like, you know, silver dimes or like a half dime. So I run a 12 by 13 coil on my detector, and I think that's a pretty good size to get deep coins with. Another thing is to use headphones. A good set of headphones is really important because you can hear those faint signals and it blocks the outside noise, especially in the fall when you have leaves. If you've ever detected without headphones and there's leaves on the ground, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because it'll just drive you nuts. So having a good set of headphones that's high quality will help you hear those coin signals. You've got to run your sensitivity high or hot, so you can't expect to run low sensitivity and run a stable detector all the time and find super deep coins. And running your machine hot is not something that you can do as a beginner. If you just bought your detector, you know, a couple weeks ago or even a month ago, you want to run it on something stable, so kind of a low to mid sensitivity. Once you've put in several hundred hours on your machine, you can crank your sensitivity extremely high, and since you have so many hours on it, you'll be able to distinguish coin signals from false signals. So what a lot of new detectorists do, they'll buy a detector, they'll get online, they'll read the forums and say, how do you find deep coins, you know? Well, people tell them to run their sensitivity high, so they crank their sensitivity to the max, and then they go out there and they get all these false signals and they think that it's something wrong with their machine or it's not working right, and they wonder what's going on. It's because they haven't put the time in and actually learned the difference between a false signal and a good coin signal. And it takes time. It takes a lot of hours, so don't expect to do it in the first week or two. High gain is something else that you need to set on your detector. If you have a low gain, you can miss really deep signals. You want to run your gain high so you can actually hear the super deep coins. You want to know how to ground balance properly. If your metal detector is not properly ground balanced, you can lose depth. So some of them are automatic, but the manual ones, you definitely want to know how to properly ground balance it. Another thing, to get deep coins, you need low discrimination. This is more important on some machines than it is others, but as a general rule, the lower the discrimination that you run, the more deep you're going to get. So low discrimination or an all metal mode will allow you to get much deeper coins. A medium to fast sweep speed is what I recommend. Some people will tell you to go super slow, but if you go too slow, you can actually miss a deep coin. I've had a deep coin, a 10-inch coin before, and I'll tell people to come, hey, see if you can get this signal with their detector, and they just creepy crawl over it trying to get the signal, and I'm like, swing it, swing it back and forth. And then once they swing it, it starts coming in loud and clear. So don't think that you have to crawl to get deep coins. You don't have to, because you're in a low trash area. You can sweep a medium sweep speed or even a high sweep speed to get those deep coins. Another thing, run the coil directly on the ground. Get a coil cover to protect your coil, and then put your coil right on the grass. And just, if the grass is even like a couple inches high, sometimes I will push down a little bit. Just let it ride right on top of the grass so it's flat on the ground. And then at the end of your sweep, make sure you don't bring the side of the coil up and angle it up, because that's definitely not good. You want to keep the coil flat all the time. You want to keep it directly on the ground. And as a general rule, you need to know your machine. And the only thing that can teach you that is practice. Like many hours of knowing your machine, or using your machine, will help you know your machine better and understand what the signals are. Something else that's extremely important is to learn to hunt by ear. Sound is much more important than the ID that is on your screen. So a mistake that I see a lot of people, a lot of new detectorists do, is they rely on the numbers and they're not really paying attention to the sound that much. So, for example, on a MindLab e-trac, the coins on the ferrous side should read about 12, and then a silver dime on the conductive side in my soil conditions will read about 45. So you have a 1245 signal is what the known silver dime is on an e-trac. Well, a lot of people that don't really know the e-trac well, they'll go out and get a signal, and if it says 2245, then they'll skip it thinking that it's iron or something, or if it's 03, they'll skip it. But what I found is that coins can read, a silver dime on the e-trac can read from 01 all the way up till about 25 on the ferrous number. That's a huge fluctuation. So people might see those numbers and skip it entirely, especially on an extremely deep coin. The FE numbers on an e-trac are going to go bananas. And even the conductive numbers, 45 is what it's supposed to be, but it can fluctuate quite a bit, especially if the coin's deep. And the key is to just learn to go by ear. Just hunt by listening to that signal. So every time that you dig a target, or every time you get a signal, I want you to listen to the whole signal. Go back and forth and listen to the beginning from the threshold all the way through to the end of the signal on the other side. Because if you look on the left here, this is a screen and it gives you an ID number, okay? That's an 85. This is one data point of information. So if I only look at my screen, I can see one data point of information, which is 85. On the right side here, this is a sound, this is a sine wave. This is basically the representation of an audio signal on an e-trac. And you can see that from the start of the signal to the end of the signal, there is virtually an endless amount of data points. Really, there's probably, I think, 30 on the e-trac. If you have your numbers, your audio variations set to 30, there's supposed to be 30 different numbers. But there's little pauses in there, and there's so much information that can come from an audio signal that you cannot get from a screen. So I encourage you, listen to the audio and only use your screen to verify what your audio is telling you. Okay, in summary, an 8 to 10 inch silver dime is considered deep silver in my opinion. You want to look for low trash sites. Low mineral soil is the best kind of places to find deep coins. Loose, dark dirt is good. Low cut or old grass is what you need to look for. That way you can get the closest down to the ground as possible and get as deep as possible with your detector. Pay attention to moisture levels and learn what your machine likes the best. High-end machine with a large search coil is going to give you the greatest chances of finding super deep coins. Use really good headphones. If you don't have super good headphones, or if you can't afford to buy $100 or $200 set of headphones, your stock headphones are fine. Just use them all the time. Every time you want to find deep silver, use your headphones. Your detector settings: high sensitivity, low discrimination, high gain, properly ground balanced, and a medium to high sweep speed depending on what kind of detector you have. Just don't go super slow. Know your machine. Spend a lot of time practicing and learning your machine and analyzing signals, and listen to the audio signals. Hunt by ear. Quit looking at the display all the time and worrying about the numbers. Learn to listen to the audio, and that's definitely going to help you find deeper coins. Run your coil directly on the ground and make sure to keep it flat at the end of your sweep. Really, it comes down to practice. So if you just got a new detector, don't expect to master it in a couple weeks, because it takes a long time. It takes a lot of hours. But if you stick with it, you'll definitely learn it. And your detector has a language. I really believe that. And I think the signal, the audio it puts out, the more audio information you could get, the more you can learn about what's in the ground. And it will speak its own language to you. And if you can learn that language, it will tell you where the silver is. I guarantee that. Hopefully this video has helped you to better understand what factors need to be in place to find the super deep silver coins. And if you're not finding really deep silver coins, then I would suggest just going back through the video and taking a look at every single item on the list and making sure that everything is in place for you to find deep silver. If you're not, it could be that it's not even your fault. It could be the soil conditions or whatever, but just knowing all the things that need to be in place for you to find the silver will help you find deep silver if it's possible for you. So I wish you the best of luck in that. Okay, that concludes the video on finding deep silver coins. And if you'd like to get more tips and secrets for metal detecting, be sure to sign up for the Cutaplug newsletter. There's a link in the description below, and you can also sign up for it at my website, which is cutaplug.com. Thanks for watching.